There are many ups and downs in the world of sports, but nothing devastates fans more than losing someone they admire. The world lost the brilliance of Mike Leach and couldn't help but wonder about the impact that he's had. So in today's video, we'll talk about how Patrick Mahomes was influenced by him even though they'd never met. Let's get into it. To start with, the player was greatly influenced by the coach but not directly. Patrick Mahomes and Mike Leach were never able to meet each other. When the athlete went to Texas Tech, Leach had been gone from Lubbock for 5 years. He was fired after a player accused him of hurting him, but the coach still impacted one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in a big way. Mike, who was 61, passed away recently from problems with his heart. He was a coach at Washington State and Mississippi State and was in his 3rd season with the team. He worked as a coach for 10 years at Texas Tech. He oversaw the air raid offense during that time, which often led to national passing leaders. The first of this group is Kliff Kingsbury, who's now the head coach of the Red Raiders and used to be the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. And at Tech, Mahomes' stats went up like those of a Leach quarterback. In 2016, the star quarterback passed for 734 yards against Oklahoma, which tied the NCAA record. When he joined the NFL, he quickly rose through the ranks. In his 6th year as a starting quarterback, he had already won a Super Bowl and been named the league's MVP. The player praised Coach Kingsbury for his wins and claimed that it was like he was learning from Mike himself. His impact on the National Football League and college football will last for years to come. Now for how the man was the Led Zeppelin of coaches. This past week, Mississippi State University announced the passing of their head football coach. They stated that he was old and died of natural causes, but that still devastated the entire world. Everyone loved the old man. He was tough and truthful. Even college football reporters and journalists loved him because he always had great things to say. He stood out because he was honest about what he liked to do outside of sports. He didn't play football in college like many of his peers, and he switched from football to rugby because he hurt his ankle in high school. He kept in touch with the famous BYU football coaches Lavelle Edwards and Norm Chow, who came up with a new way to pass the ball. The time he spent in Provo during the careers of Mark Wilson, Jim McMahon, and Steve Young made him want to become a coach. He joined Hal Mummy's staff at Iowa Wesleyan in 1989. Before that, he got his law degree from Pepperdine and coached football in Finland. That connection put him on the path that led him to become the most important football coach of his time. He coached all the greats and made them the players that they are today. Let's look at all of the coach's best moments and sayings to remember him by. The coach will forever be remembered as an innovator, pioneer, and visionary who helped make the air raid strategy more popular. His death is a big loss for the school, the SEC, and everyone who likes college football. His genuine interest in everything, his honesty, and his fearless pursuit of perfection will be sorely missed by the entire community. During his decades-long coaching career, he said a lot of wise things that showed off his unique personality. But football wasn't the only thing he liked talking about. He would talk about a lot of different things, like the sweet corn, Bigfoot, and pirates. Here are a few of the best examples of what the coach has done for college football outside of the field. First up, his amazing wedding advice. The coach was very vocal about the fact that he didn't like weddings and didn't want to be shackled. After Alyssa Lang, a reporter for the SEC network, told him she was getting married to Trevor Sikkema, he went on one of his many rants about their wedding plans. So what did he suggest the two of them do? He suggested that they both run away and elope. He advised the two that it'd be a lot easier for them to just run away, that they'd keep their wedding planning quiet and get married as soon as the season ended or even if they had a week off. Trevor was probably going to do it, but his wife-to-be stopped him. She made him promise that he'd do it the traditional way and have an honest-to-goodness ceremony in front of their families. He hilariously went on to tell the groom-to-be that he'd be swarmed with every female relative he had, and that they'd make his life miserable until the wedding was over. If they eloped, their relatives would be sad for a couple of days, but they'll get over it soon enough. But the couple could go on and plan a wonderful marriage and live a happy life. As the coach had said in a lot of interviews that he detested weddings, this little bit of advice was so funny to hear. Coming up, this wasn't his first time advising about weddings. While he was teaching at Washington State, reporter Mike Stephenson asked him for marriage advice. He told him to stay out of his bride's way as she planned their wedding instead of giving him advice about the big picture. He told him to let her have the marriage of her dreams. What's more, he said that as a husband, his His job was to stay out of trouble and give his wife a wonderful life. He wished the couple would have a wonderful marriage and knew they were perfect for each other. He warned him about how weddings and marriages drive women completely crazy. His future mother-in-law, his mother, and a few of his sisters and other female relatives were going to lose their minds. They'll keep asking him questions and giving him random pieces of advice that he'd never use. The coach went on one of his signature rants, which lasted for about 3 minutes. Up next, he loved his pet raccoon, Bilbo Baggins. When he was growing up in Wyoming, the coach kept a really weird animal as a pet. Some people have cats and some have dogs, but he had a pet raccoon. In an article for the Players Tribune, he even wrote about how his family took care of the animal. He names his pet after J.R.R. Tolkien's character, Bilbo Baggins. He had so many stories to tell about his beloved pet, especially how much he loved messing with his kitchen tools. The animal would climb up on the shelves and start pulling things off of them and banging them together. In a super sweet tribute, he talked about the night he had to give him up. When Bilbo got very mean one night, he and his dad drove him out to the woods. When they found a good place for him, they took his collar off and put him on the ground. He wandered around free as a bird for a little while, but then looked back at his owner and gave him a look. The coach translated this look to mean that the raccoon was saying something along the lines of, "It's been great knowing you." The coach believed that it's easier for people to form bonds with animals because he felt like they formed some kind of unspoken agreement. Any pet owner would agree. What's more, he had some things to say about Bigfoot and aliens. The deceased coach would answer one fan question every week while he was at Washington State, and he got some fascinating questions. One of the best was when a fan asked him about his view on 2 mythical creatures. He answered saying that he didn't believe that Bigfoot existed. He reasoned that dinosaur and other prehistoric animal bones have been found, but there haven't been any bones of the huge creature. He went on to say that one of his biggest hopes is that the mythical creature is real, and he'd be psyched to discover it. On the other hand, he was much more open to the idea that aliens might be real. He believed that humans couldn't be the only living creatures in this universe. Who knew he was an alien enthusiast? Following up, weave his Pirates versus Vikings debate. This was one of our favorite rants. When asked who would win in a fight, Vikings or Pirates, he had a funny take on things. In 2009, ESPN called the coach's office at Texas Tech a museum of pirate stuff because he had so many pirate-related items in it. So you can imagine he spent a lot of time thinking about what would go down if a group of pirates and a group of Vikings got into a fight. He knew a lot more than you'd think about the subject. He started by giving each group a detailed history and then gave his verdict. Given that both the groups were super smart, they might have teamed up, but at the same time, he said they were super competitive, so they might have fought each other. He ended the rant by saying it was a pretty hard question. Finally, his opinion of a Pac-12 mascot battle. The legendary coach told his fans that he's had a huge argument with himself about which Pac-12 mascot would win in a fight to the death. Weird question, but okay. He looked at all the mascots one by one to see who was more likely to win. He had some wise things to say. If the Stanford Duck mascot got bored, it might be best for it to just take off and leave Oregon. Migrate for the winter maybe. For Arizona State's Sun Devil, he thought that a skilled magician might be able to kill him. And for Stanford's tree, he said it would be pretty easy to chop it down and be done with it. But of course, he thought UCLA's mascot would take the win. But Washington State's Butch the Cougar had a strong chance too. These were just a few of the most memorable things Leach said and did while he was a head coach. He had a weird personality, and we all loved him. Fortunately, his legacy will live on. That's a wrap for this video. Are there any other memories of the legendary coach Mike Leach that we might have missed? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.